Hey guys, Kargath here again. Today we're going to do another Know Your Tanks, looking at the Object 277, a fantastic Russian heavy brawler, very fast, very quick. It's a excellent tank. So, as always, we're going to start with the crew, looking at the four-person crew. We have the commander, who's also the radio operator, the gunner, driver, and the loader. So, as always with the commander, Brothers in Arms, Sixth Sense, a must. Then I'm taking Recon, Situational Awareness, just to boost that view range as much as I possibly can, being a little less blind. Then working on repairs. On the gunner, Brothers in Arms, Snapshot, Deadeye, repairs. I like Deadeye just for that extra module damage, but this is a Russian tank. If you wanted to forego Deadeye and work on your firefighting, I would understand. And then with the driver, Brothers in Arms, Smooth Ride, Preventative Maintenance and Repairs. Definitely going preventative maintenance to help reduce that engine fire, really reduce that fire. And then lastly but not least, the gunner. And I decided to go forego, safe stowage or anything else that just to go for firefighting. I wanted to get that firefighting on at least one crew member as quickly as I could. Now, when we start to look at the rest of the tank as far as ammo, it's fantastic. Decent 260 pen standard rounds, 490 alpha, heat 340 pen, excellent. HE only 65 pen but 640. Now I would carry an assortment on these. Just remember, you can't shoot heat into any spaced armor. You can't shoot heat into track. So you are going to want to carry a certain amount of standard ammunition and definitely a few HE rounds. Just when you might have to shoot a turret, you can't quite pen it. You know shooting it in artillery, you want to get that big damage. Make sure you carry a little bit of everything. All right. So when we go to look at equipment, I would say V-stabs and rammer for sure. If you wanted to use an improved rotation mechanism over the V-stabs for that little bit more dynamics, I'd understand. I like the V-stabs though because it's just a little bit more accuracy when I'm brawling, trying to make those fine shots, just making sure when I'm jockeying around those tanks that I have that accuracy. Now in the first slot, you definitely have some choices with this tank. I like to use improved hardening just so I have those extra hit points to brawl just a little bit longer. So I might be able to take one more shell. My tracks come up just a little bit faster. But mod config, you can go that way. I wouldn't on this tank. If you want to protect your modules, you want that extra repair speed, I understand for the mod config. But I would prefer the improved hardening if you're going to go defensive. Now with this heavy tank, I wouldn't go with the spar liner. You're going to be so quick. You're not quite a medium, but I wouldn't worry too much about taking loads of HE shells. However, for a third option, the turbocharger is excellent. If you want to take your speed just a little bit farther, if you know you're going to be going up a lot of hills or do different things, the turbocharger is excellent. Just a little bit more engine power, that little bit more top speed and top reverse speed. It's really, really great. Definitely consider a turbocharger if you don't want any of the other things. Obviously, if you're just trying to push out more DPM, you can do vents, but I would suggest doing something a little bit more dynamic. Now, when it comes to consumables, repair kit, first aid kit, I honestly run a fire extinguisher because I don't have a full firefighting crew yet. If you have that full firefighting crew, go for food, but it is a Russian tank. They love to get spicy. So just watch out for that. That's why I use the automatic extinguisher. Once I start to work on firefighting, I would personally switch. It's up to you guys. So we're going to move on to Tanks GG and take a look at some of the armor now. So here we are, Tanks GG. Now, something I want to point out here in the model before we look at, the actual values, and that is specifically these two little eyes right there. We're going to look at them in the model, and we're going to see how they are weak points. Another thing to notice is there is this compoler here, which is very penetrable, but there's this viewport. Ignore the viewport. You're going to ricochet. You're not going to pen. So if you're shooting at the compoler, you need to shoot to the right, shoot to the left. Obviously, if it's slightly angled, it's a much easier shot. But watch out for shooting into that viewport. And if you are shooting heat at the front here, don't hit this little window. It is technically spaced armor. Now let's take a look at the live version of this armor. Bam. So as we can see, very easy to pen lower plate. You can pen the upper plate from fighting above, and you still have chances to pen that compoler. Definitely firing standard rounds at the front of this tank is a possibility. Now, if you're another 277, you're brawling, You load that heat, bam, that entire upper plate now becomes an easy pen. Lower plate stays an easy pen. The compoler becomes easy. But again, look, right here, you got a good chance between 50 and 70% to pen where those two eye doodads are. So if you're face tugging a tank, you can't get back, you can't take that shot here, you're not confident in hitting the compoler, you can take a shot at these two little eyes right here and right here, and you're going to have, it's not a 100% chance to pen, but if you load the heat, you definitely have a real chance. So just remember that 277 fighting 277. If you're face hugging real hard, you can't get into the upper plate, lower plate, and you're not confident in your shots into the compoler, those two little eyes. Now, if we take a look at this tank when it comes to side scraping, this thing is an absolute Russian monster. Now, something of note about this tank is the side of its hull is kind of like somewhat boat hallish, where it's kind of curved on the side, making ricochets just that much more likely, that much more convenient. So when this tank is side scraping, it can, overexpose its side a little bit, because pretty much anything off this spaced armor, anything off of here is just going to fly off. Really, the only parts of the tank that are truly vulnerable when it's side scraping is the front of the tank. You got to look for one of these bands, or if they're over side scraping, it gets bigger and bigger. But along the side of this tank, it's extremely well armored. Now remember, guys, especially if you're some city maps, you're side scraping versus Jaegers and they're firing heat, you can overexpose your tracks a bit, guys. Like, expose this. They're going to shoot that heat right into here. And, well, they now 20-second reload. You can pull out, fire one shell, fire two shells, and you just way punish them for shooting heat into your tracks. So remember, this is a fantastic side scraper. Use it both sides as best you can. Really angle it. Get as much as you can. Remember, your front plate is really going to be the only thing of weakness. Now go out there, conquer, have a good time. This is Kargath. Good luck.